Welcome, my nerd family, to another episode of Gamesymaspod, the podcast where we are talking about all things board games, video games, and pop culture. On today's episode, I'm super excited. We are joined here by Joel and Brian. Joel's had to step away for real quick, but Brian is here right now for the time being. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode, man. I'm excited. Joel and Brian are the hosts of the United We Nerd podcast, where they talk about all things video games, pop culture, movies, all that good stuff that kind of similar to our podcast as well. So I'm very excited. We got similar interests. Had the pleasure of being on your guys' podcast, talking about roundtables, talking about all things Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Talking about all things Assassin's Creed, video games. Man, I love it. Enjoy talking with you guys. And for fun, go check out those episodes, guys. I'll leave a link below on our description. Yes, go check them out. But for this episode, we're going to be talking about all things video games, more specifically about cutscenes, about the cutscenes throughout the ages, how they've evolved, how our memorable cutscenes that we've enjoyed. Also, maybe even talking about our cutscenes even needed nowadays. How everything kind of seems fluid. I know, Brian, you had some interesting takes on
opinions.
Yes,
I got some opinions.
Yes, I'm very excited so I'm very, very excited to talk about that topic and hear you guys' thoughts, maybe get to know you guys a little bit more about your podcast, the history of the podcast, a quick recap of that. So with all that being said, guys, pull up a chair, grab some dice, y acompáñeme a jugar. Okay, so some technical difficulties on Joel's end, but we'll try to get him on here, or try to get him on here as we can. But we'll start it off with Brian here, where you'll have to be the spokesman for now. Hold on the fort.
You know what?
Right now.
When the internet drops the ball, we just got to pick it up and keep going on.
There you go. Exactly, Brian. When we get Joel in here, we'll ask him the question here, and we'll pause and stuff like that. But Brian, our little traditions that we have here on Gamesymaspod is anyone that's new to the podcast, we ask them icebreaker question. It's a two-parter question, and I like to ask it right off the bat without any pre-preparation. I just want to hear right off the bat.
Off the dome, let's go.
Off the dome, and I love the improv, I love the raw. We like to do it right here. So the questions here are it's a two-parter question, and feel free if you feel like the first part's I'm not really expertise on it. You can always skip it. It's okay. But the first question is going to be your favorite board game of all time. Now, again, I always preface this. When I say board games, I'm including the whole genre of dice games, card games.
All tabletop.
All tabletop. I'm including all of that because a lot of people, I've had a couple guests where they'd be like, well, I have one, but it's a dice game. I don't know if I'm like, no, include it. Stuff. So I'll include that. Okay. And then the second one, I think the second one also is right up your alley. Second part two of the question is your favorite video game of all time. Now, as a fellow gamer, and I know it's a big loaded question, we'll go top three. We can go top three favorite video games. Even if board games you have, you can't narrow down, we'll go top three. Because I know I've had to be like, okay, just narrow it down to one. I'm like, all right, we'll go top three. But yeah, we'll start off with the first part of the board game. What is your favorite board game of all time? It could be a game that you played yesterday or something, or childhood game.
Right.
Doesn't matter. It's whatever you fancy here.
So I know that recently, it's actually pretty hard. I have two off the top of my head right now that kind of share the same space. Okay. So I kind of do like a 2-for-1 deal.
All right, let's go.
I'll do one recent where that my friends started getting me into Marvel Crisis Protocol, right?
Yes, correct.
And I remember they've been playing it for at least going on a year or so now, before me even getting involved. And I was like, I keep hearing them talk about it. Seems like they're having fun. It's it's the type of game where it's not like the Warhammer, the tactic style game, not as intense as Warhammer. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I had a buddy tried to teach me that a long time ago, and my brain just
melted.
Oh my god. But no, it's been really fun. The mixture of the Marvel characters and seeing very niche Marvel characters get added to the game over time. But then it's just picking your team, finding what strategies work the best, rolling the dice. I mean, I for one, I love dice. So any game that has dice is a plus for me.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, for our podcast, United We Nerd, we have a very lovely championship belt that me and Joel compete against each other in every month on Twitch. And Joel challenged me to MCP. That was like my first kind of taste of MCP, and
Okay.
he rolled spectacularly, dude. Like
Oh wow.
it was obscene how good he was playing the Asgard, the
Oh okay.
Asgardians.
Uh-huh.
And so he was just mopping the floor with me left and right, and it
Oh my
was
goodness.
if it wasn't for me losing, it was spectacular.
Yeah, right,
But
right.
it's the idea of like shout out to our buddy Nate because he has everything, like all of the
Mhm.
debris, all of the mapping, all of like
Oh, nice.
custom paints, everything looks fucking great. What I just like love about playing MCP is just there's no real set like parameters that you have to go through. It's just okay, pick the characters that you start out with,
Mhm.
do what you gotta do, try to like figure out a way to strategically go at your opponent, but then also make sure that you complete objectives or you complete like little obstacles that you have to go through. And like no game
Yeah.
ever feels the same.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely,
that's
yeah.
what I love. It's like infinite loop of just
Re
playability, which is
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really love.
Yeah, awesome.
Um and I'll kick it to a longtime favorite
Mhm.
that I got introduced to I want to say 5 years ago.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe like before like 2020, Sheriff of Nottingham.
Ooh, that's a fun game. That's a
Sheriff of
fun
Nottingham is so fun, and I think
Yep.
it's so much fun, especially if you have a group of people that are really just loose and like love to just like mess around.
Mhm.
Because the best part is, so for people that don't know, Sheriff of Nottingham is
Mhm.
a like a card board game s. It's not so
Yeah.
much of a board game; it's more of a card game. But
Yeah. Bluffing,
you're
you have to bluff your way.
yeah, you're all have your own carts full of goods and supplies that you want to bring into Nottingham in order to
Mhm.
sell.
Mhm.
But of course, you have special cards that are contraband, or you try to smuggle in basically rebel allies to try to get into Nottingham to get extra
Mm.
points and like
Mhm.
do things.
Mhm.
And so every round, there's one to two players that play the sheriff that's supposed to stop people from having contraband. And what I love about my group of friends is that we get really into like the whole like sheriff thing. It's like,
Nice.
oh, let's see what you got here. Oh, you got some apples, maybe some chicken. Oh, wait, I see that loaf of bread. The loaf of bread's no good here. You need to get it out now. It's just that kind of. It's like 2 hours of just us like going zany and going wild with it, and
Oh, I love it. I love that.
it's the extra little bits that just make it so much fun.
I love playing that game. My wife hates that game because she's like, "I can't bluff. I can't lie." I'm like, "You
It's
always
like I
know when
can't.
I'm lying."
I
Yeah,
swear to
it's
God, though, I have seen people that say they are like the worst liars and play enough lying games, and they become like so good at it because everybody expects them not to be liars.
Yeah,
But
no, right? Exactly.
it's like it
Dude,
right
you
under
know
the
who you are. You
radar.
know who you are. You know who you are. You guys are the people that are like, I'm a bad liar. And then they're like 700 points in and beating us already. And we're like, oh, great. Thanks.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
it's so dirty. Just like
Hmm.
the amount of things that you can try to get away with at any given
Oh,
moment.
man. But okay, so we have your board games here. We have Marvel Crisis
Okay.
Protocol. Fun one, great miniature game to get introduced to the whole mini game. And like, I mean, it's Marvel. So, you want to get into like, the
Oh
thing that you
yeah.
get to control Iron Man and Spider Man and moving them around on a miniature type S game. Like you said, you're right. It has a lot of replayability. Everything's
Hmm.
different. The maps are different all the time. Scenarios are different all the time. Like that's what I love about those type of gaming stuff like that. Oh, we got Joel back. Let's go.
Hey, yo,
What's that?
Joel.
There we
Internet.
go.
Hey,
We got
sorry
we
about
got.
Internet
that.
survived.
No, you're good. We got Joel back
Uh,
here. And, hey, just in time. We're going through the icebreaker questions here. But for
oh,
those
nice.
listeners that are just going ahead, we got Joel back, the other half of United We Nerd from the
Hey,
podcast.
everyone.
Yeah.
We're so happy to have him. Joel, you have the advantage of thinking about these questions while Brian finishes off his
Got it.
questions.
Got
But
it.
it's a two-parter question, and the question is the first one is your favorite. What is your favorite board game of all time? It could be again to reiterate again once more time. Could be anything from dice games, card games, all type of tabletops, miniatures, games that you've played last week, and you're like, "This is my favorite board game ever," or it's a childhood game. Um, Brian's answers were Marvel Crisis Protocol. He loved that. He's in love with that one. And then the second one was Sheriff of Nottingham. And then the second half that we're gonna hear now from Brian and Joe, you have more time to think about it. Is your
Mhm.
favorite video game of all time?
Ooh,
I know
ooh,
that's a loaded question,
that's
and so I'm allowing. I'll go top three if you want to go top three if you can't narrow it down. And then even with video games, I'm adding the whole. It doesn't have to be just console exclusives or PC. It could be even arcade games, like an arcade game that you enjoyed going
oh my
playing.
god, that makes it
Yeah,
even
right.
harder.
I know, right?
God.
Exactly.
Oh
Yeah, dude.
no.
Because I'm like right now, and we were talking before
Oh.
we started recording. I'm like, I started emulating. We started emulating again, and like, I'm just playing all those like old arcade,
Mm.
the old school Metal Slug games. I was like, oh, I love playing Metal Slug, and like, oh man. So, Brian, I'll let you go ahead
So
and take it away with here.
with with the idea of arcade also being involved now, I'm gonna take advantage of your top three.
Go
And
ahead.
what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you one childhood, one
Okay.
modern, and one arcade.
Ooh, I love it. I
So,
love it. Let's
so I'll
go.
start off with childhood. So growing up, I pretty much had video games pretty much around all my life just based off of the luck of my dad being a truck driver and like being able to live in the Bay Area where there's a lot of video game companies. He used to go deliver stuff to distribution and whatnot. And one day he was lucky enough to go ship over to Sega that used to
Oh,
be in
okay.
San Francisco.
Hmm.
And so one day it was kind of in the midst of like the Sega Genesis era, like leaning into going to the next generation.
Yeah.
And so there was a bunch of Sega Genesises that were just at the office, like not being sent out for whatever reason. And so like the guy was like, "Hey, do you want a Sega Genesis?" And my dad was like, "Sure,
Sure.
all right." And so
Oh man.
thanks to that one dude that was super chill and didn't care about getting fired or not,
Yeah.
was the reason I was introduced to Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh
Sonic
man.
the Hedgehog, my first ever game I ever played. To this day, shout out to Joel for giving me this little guy.
Hey, nice.
Sonic is I am what they call a Sonic sicko,
Okay.
for better or for worse.
Mhm.
But what I would say for my childhood, fast forward, the one game that I think I've played over and over and over again the most is Sonic Adventure 2.
Mm. For
Like,
the Dreamcast?
so actually, no, I actually played the GameCube version, the
Oh, okay,
Adventure 2
okay.
Battle,
Okay.
because I never owned a Dreamcast. For
Okay.
longest time, like after the Sega Genesis, it became like a Nintendo household.
Mhm.
Um, so I cannot tell you how many times I have played Sonic Adventure 2 over and over and over again. Like to this day, I could give you almost word for word the whole cutscene, like leading the top of the cutscenes
Mhm.
of the end of the first boss battle fight in the Heroes version where Sonic meets Shadow for the first time.
Oh,
To
snap.
this day, I remember the entire scene like almost word for word, and it's
Really?
stuck with me
Oh.
for so long.
Yeah.
Um, is it the best game in the world? No, but it's been attached to me for so long, and also just because like Sonic games just have the best music. I have to
Oh,
say,
yeah.
like
Oh, for
they
sure.
have some major hits.
Yep.
But yeah, so Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay.
For modern, I would have to say Devil May Cry 5.
Oh, okay. Devil May Cry
Devil
5.
May Cry
Interesting.
5 is one of my more recent kind of favorites. I was introduced to it from 3 in high school, and I've been in love with the franchise ever since. 5, I believe, is the masterpiece of
Really?
the Devil May Cry series. They've learned everything that they had to learn from the past few games. They dedicate so much time and effort. Like this was like when Capcom was coming back around from their like really dark period of we need to um we need to make our games more, approachable for like the Western audience. Like, no, that's not what we like about Capcom games. We
Yeah.
like the zany, like Japanese, like
Yep. Cr-
style,
Over
you
the
know.
top. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And when they announced that Devil May Cry 5 was coming back and like we're gonna like continue the story and just and also involving the RE engine involved in it. So like all the movements are just so fluid and the combat is just feels so good. All the
Nice.
characters are just so unique and different and have their
Yeah.
like own playing styles and also just like for me, I just love the world of Devil May Cry, and I hope
Yeah.
that even though the main lead of Devil May Cry left Capcom, I hope that they keep continuing the franchise
Run it.
because
Yeah.
I just love it so much.
No, definitely for sure.
Um,
Okay. Devil May Cry 5. Okay.
and then to just round off with the arcade pick,
Hmm.
I am going to do a pick that may be weird to some people, but have you ever heard of Virtual On?
Virtual On. I don't think I ever had a
I
Virtual
have. You introduced
So
it to me in
On.
fucking Reno. It was pretty
yeah,
sick.
Oh. Okay.
so Virtual On is this series that kind of really isn't around anymore. It was
Hmm.
a like robot fighting like combat game. And what was so cool about it is that the Virtual On like Virtual Trooper franchise had a arcade cabinet where it was two side by side like full bent like bucket seats that you come sit in and there's like a visor that blocks your vision from like your opponent and then the controls are two joysticks
Uh-huh.
and then so basically you control the mech that you're fighting so
Oh.
it's like you have to like turn jump and you have like the triggers to fire and like the auxiliary buttons and like this whole combat game but it's they made it so immersive for the time at least because I know nowadays you can have like the full pods where you like get into and it's like all these
Yeah.
like
Right.
but back in the day, um, it was just so wild to see an arcade game like that because you're used to having like the regular cabinets that you stand up on. You have like a joystick and buttons, where like this
Yeah.
one
Right.
is like, no, you're gonna pilot this mech,
That is
and
so awesome.
it was such a cool experience. And
Okay.
like Joel was saying, like we found one for our other host of the show, Marcelo. It was his bachelor party. We went to Reno
Hmm.
and I think it was like the Circus in Reno had like the
Hmm.
Hmm.
arcade, and I like locked eyes like we are playing that game.
Yes.
Like that is
Nice.
childhood.
You're like, you're gonna enjoy this game. Oh man, that
And
is
we
so
did.
cool.
It
There
was
you go.
great.
Dang.
It was a fun
Oh,
time.
that is so cool. You hit up Circus City, like, do not get rid of this game ever. Ever. You keep
I was
this.
like,
You keep this
please.
arcade, or send it to me. Ship it to me if you don't want it, and I'll take it. I'll find a way
Like
somewhere.
I do not have space, but I will make space.
I will make space. I will not sleep in my bed. I don't care. I'll sleep in this thing for sure. Okay, interesting.
But yeah,
Interesting topics. Yeah.
those are my picks. Those are my
Okay,
picks.
great picks, awesome picks. Virtual On. Now I'm curious. I want to go check it out. Probably watch some videos of it, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hit up Circus X in Reno now. I'm gonna time to take a trip, road trip. I'm gonna play this game. You know, people ask me why I'm there. You know, to gamble. Like, nah, I came here to just play this arcade game that Brian told me to
No,
play.
I'm here to fight robots, baby.
I'm
Let's
here to
go.
fight some robots. Give me all the quarters. Give me all the quarters. Interesting. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Okay, awesome picks. Awesome thing. Joel, you've had like you've had half an hour to think. I don't know. You've had
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. I know.
no, you're good. No, no worries, no worries. You had plenty of time. So you got so these picks better be bangers now.
Oh,
Since you've
I
had
hope
all.
so. It'll be a banger to
No,
me at least.
no, they're gonna be great. So same question applies to you, Joe. So we'll go with the board game question. What is your favorite board game of all time that
Um,
you can?
I'm gonna write off Brian for a second. We've been playing a lot of MCP. I even have a
Okay.
tournament tomorrow with our friends. It's a lot of
Nice.
fun. I have my own figures now. Like I have my own Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, Namor, and Spider-Man. It's a lot of fun, and it's Marvel, so we love it. And they
Right.
just introduced spooky characters like Dracula and werewolves, so I'm super excited about that.
Oh, nice,
I
nice.
didn't see myself collecting more figures. Here I am. So
Yeah, there
I
you
love
go.
it
Yeah.
It
that
grabs
much.
you.
Always
It
have
grabs
Yeah.
you.
been.
It's always a
Um,
slippery slope. Always a slippery slope for that.
yeah. And for an honorary mention, the Thing board game. I fucking love
Ooh.
that game.
Oh,
Based on
nice.
the movie The Thing, John
Mm-hmm.
Carpenter, I think.
Yep.
Basically, you try to rat out who's evil, who tries to sabotage you. At the end, you still not even you can't even win all the way. You have to figure out if who's the thing and
Yeah.
if they make it out. So I really love that game. Game of betrayal, intrigue, and working together.
Yes.
I've had
Nice.
so many times where I've been very upset but still enjoy it, and or almost clutch
Yeah.
victory, and don't it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if you want to really play a game with your friends and fuck each other up, The Thing I think
The
is
Thing
is worth
board game.
mentioning. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I've seen that.
yeah,
I've seen it on a couple stores. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
this game sounds dangerous because
It
if
is
it's
dangerous. I think once you like put in like 3 games, like you get the flow in, it's like, ooh, it's so good. I just the feeling it gave me, it's so
yeah, nice. Okay. So the thing and
good.
MCP.
Yeah, MCP is Marvel Crisis Protocol, by the way, in case you
Yeah,
forgot.
yep,
So,
yep, exactly. Yep,
for
yep,
those who are listening,
yep,
um, favorite video games. Ooh, you guys really made me think about it. And then you said
yep,
arcade.
yep.
I had to
Open.
put down an honorary mention list, but
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll start with childhood. Pokemon Silver. It changed my life, honestly.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
I already love Pokemon. I beat Blue. Got to I was like, oh cool, we get the first 8 badges. Like, oh, you're not done, and we go
Yep.
fucking back to Kanto. For me, that was amazing. Like
Oh my gosh, bro.
I couldn't believe it. We're fighting old gym leaders. We go fight, Red at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It was something else. I always have to shout out Pokemon Silver, one of my
Pokemon
favorites.
Silver, hardcore.
Solid.
Yes.
Next is this like Gundam game. It's like an arcade style game. You drop in, you fight in the arena. It's called Pokemon Gundam Federation versus Zeon.
Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
put
Yep.
hours
Yep.
and hours and hours in that game. It didn't matter,
Yeah.
into the wee hours on my PS2, making that slim thing work too hard. Yeah, it's I love that game. And then they got the voice cast to do some of the voices from the English
Nice.
translation. I just loved it. And then it was just really cool. I could play it over and over. They even had a story mode where you're like not a main character, but you fight alongside the main heroes. It was pretty
Mm-hmm.
long too. They would
Yeah.
rank you at the end,
It
like
was
this is your
very
rank,
long.
how well you did. I was like, oh shit, I died a few times. So I'm not gonna be high, but
Yeah.
it was great. Love that. We'll always shout out Federation versus Xeon. And more recent one, I think for me, it's just I love all these other games I'm gonna mention, but Street Fighter 6 has just fucking captivated me.
Taking
Really?
over the world.
It honestly, like, I remember
Really?
when it came out, I went over to Brian's like, we got to play it and stream it, and I was like, bro, we got to keep playing. Like, I went home and bought it. That is rare.
Nice.
I
That's how you know he
Wow.
loves the game.
If
I
he
was
goes and
like, I
buys,
don't even care. A next paycheck or whatever, I'll move some things around. Like, I need to
yeah.
play this fucking game. It was so
Really?
good, so dynamic. You're actually in the streets fighting like random people, run up and punch cops, old ladies, gangsters. It's hilarious. And then like now for me, like I'm really playing the ranked stuff, which I don't usually like to do in any game. I don't like to do ranked matches, but I just love it so much. I don't care if I win or lose. Like I'm like laughing, I'm yelling at the TV, even if I'm not streaming. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, this guy sucks, or damn, that was a great move. I'm in it.
Yeah.
I don't care what my rank is. I just want to
Wow.
have fun. So Street Fighter 6 for me
Street
changed the
Fighter
game, and
6.
they made a system too where it's accessible for people who don't even play fighting games, make it
Very.
easier. It's
Oh,
called
okay.
Modern, and then I switched to
Hmm.
the Classic where you have more inputs and combos and stuff, and
Right.
I'm even more in love with it. Like,
But
of
like
course, I'm like,
Really?
oh, Modern players, but that was me a year ago. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so good. Like me
You
and Brian were playing
noobs over
yesterday,
there. Yeah.
man.
Oh,
It's
really?
just
Okay,
love
Street
it so
Fighter
much.
6. Is that
Yeah,
that's the latest? That's the latest one, right? Street Fighter
yeah, it's the
6.
latest
yeah,
one.
it came out last year. It
Right.
just went past its first year
Yeah,
of being out.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's a
so
yeah.
good.
I love 4. I love 5. Yeah, I need to get my hands
Oh,
on 6
dude.
for sure. I need to get my hands on
Oh,
6.
when
You'll
you
love
do,
6.
let's go,
Like
let's go,
honestly.
let's
Let's run it.
go.
Let's
Let's
run
run
it.
it
I'm
back.
You'll
super
do
I'll
down.
it.
do it for hours. I don't care if you kick my ass 20 times or not. I
Let's
don't
go.
care. I will run
You'll
it back.
beat me for sure, but I'll get good. I'll train hard, and I'll become the
It,
master soon.
my honorary mentions, of course, Destiny 2. Love hate
Okay.
relationship with that. I'm not going to go into that
Mhm.
too much.
Yeah.
Titanfall 2, I played it like 7 or
Oh,
8
I
years
forgot
later.
about Titanfall 2.
This game, I don't like my sister's boyfriend. We always are like Titanfall 2, Titanfall 2, and we're like, yeah, and we're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? And it's like
Yeah.
you just had to play Titanfall 2 to know.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
Titanfall 2,
Yep.
I can't believe I played that late. What an amazing game, story and everything.
Nice. Okay.
Shout out to Assassin's Creed Revelations. Changed the game for me. I didn't
Ooh.
know we could be that good of a story game. It was already good, but I was like, oh wow. We're
Hmm.
going with Ezio and Altair to new places. I know we talked about it a little and something else, so I'm not going to dwell too much on that.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of arcade games, Soul Calibur.
Oh,
I
Soul
loved 2,
Calibur.
loved
Oh,
6.
Soul Calibur. Yep.
Last
interesting.
year, I went to a friend's birthday. They had it at a pub, and the first thing I saw Marvel vs. Capcom. Yeah, I saw Street Fighter. Yeah, but I saw Soul Calibur 2. I was like, oh
Hmm.
shit,
Soul Calibur 2.
right on a fucking cabinet. I was like, I'm in.
Old
I'm in.
school. Wow.
So yeah, I just
Super old
had to
school.
shout out that. I know it's kind of like it's newer, but it was on a cabinet. Oh man, I just had to
Mhm.
shout out as arcade wise. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
special shout outs to Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Love that too. And
Mm.
of course,
Ooh.
Mega Man. And that's it. There you go.
Yep, yep. I just literally got on for the Game Boy, the yeah, Oracle Seasons and Ages on the emulator. So I was like, oh man, because I had Seasons, and I was playing it, but I was like, I want Ages, I want to get Ages, but I
Oh,
never
they're
could afford
so
Ages.
good.
They're
So
so good.
They
Oh
were
my
ahead of
gosh.
its time, honestly.
Oh, hardcore,
So good.
so those were the
hardcore.
two games where if you link them up, you can unlock like special like dungeons
And
with the
weapons
two of
too.
them.
Hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those were great. You mentioned Joel that you like the Gundam video game was on your list. What was that one called again?
Federation versus Xeon. It's
Federation
essentially
versus.
like an arena fighter,
Mm-hmm.
and and it was cool for me the first time I ever played it with another friend. I've never seen a split screen that went vertical, so that was also
Oh
cool. You got the
Oh,
yeah.
whole view of the mobile suit instead of horizontal, which I was used to with Halo and whatever.
yeah, right.
But I was like, oh wait, I can see my whole suit. Dope. So yeah, Federation versus
Nice.
Xeon.
Excellent choices, guys. Those were some excellent choices, man. Honorable mentions, man. You guys are unlocking so many core memories of games that I was like, man, dude. Like, anytime I mentioned the arcade, like world that you guys can add on to, like everyone's like, no, I like Mario, or like they'll just add some other stuff, and I'm like, bro, there's like a whole world of arcade, and you guys mentioned arcade games. I'm like, dude, man, I miss arcades, bro. Like arcades is like a dying art, bro. I'm like, dude,
It's sad.
it's such
Yeah,
a sad because like that's like that was the spot where you went to like hang out and like be with friends, beat each other's
yeah,
high scores before you had consoles. And I'm like, man, like, guys, bring back arcades, bring back arcades
Like
like more, please.
it's like back in the day when you had to choose which arcade to go to, and now it's like
Oh,
hmm
you have to find an
yeah,
arcade to go
okay,
to.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
so sad.
Like a legit arcade that's like not Dave and Buster's or Round One or like some other place. I mean, nothing wrong with those
Yeah.
places. I love Dave and Buster's and Round One are cool, but like I want like old school. You know, you have like your Street Fighters, you have your Tekkens, you have all your like your everything lined up, man. Like even your old like Jurassic Park Lost World shooting game. Like I want that back. I love that
You
game so
I
much.
remember
you
that
Bro.
shit.
you unlocked a memory for me. We in our neighborhood we had an old movie theater that got
Yeah,
closed down and they just demolished it, which is really sad. But
Ah.
their arcade was legit one of the best ones because it had all of the good ones. It had
did.
Marvel versus Capcom 2, it had Street Fighter, it had the Terminator shooting games, it had like the Area
Mm.
51s, but
Yeah.
it had
Oh.
this one very niche that I don't think I've ever seen in another arcade, but it was the Speed Racer racing game where you literally
Oh.
sat down in like a Mach 5 and
Hmm.
it had the buttons on the steering wheel to activate the gadgets and it actually like worked with the game.
Oh, that is so cool.
You just
What the
unlocked
heck?
that core memory for me for
Yeah.
some reason.
What the heck? Oh, jeez.
It was
Why'd they have
sick.
to demolish that, man? Come on, man. Like, oh,
I
I'm
mean, to
so
be
sad.
fair, it was filled with rats. So
Oh,
to be
okay,
fair,
Yeah, Speed
okay.
Racer couldn't beat rats, unfortunately.
Yeah,
couldn't be
that's true.
rats.
Yeah, yeah. So great choices. You know, I know giving the questions is going to lead into a good conversation with that, and so then a good segue to talking about cutscenes. But before we get to the cutscenes, let's give a little bit of an overview here of your guys' podcast. I want to plug that in. I want to talk about that. I
Oh,
want
for
our
sure.
viewers to know about your guys' podcast, United We Nerd. You guys are awesome. I love listening to you
Oh,
guys. I love
thank you.
watching your Twitch streams. You guys are fun. I'm like, these
Thank
guys
you.
are my people. They're gamers, and I love them. And like, they know their stuff. They're not like just Super Smash Bros. In deep. They're like deeper than that. They're playing the games. They're playing the games, bro. They know the games. So like that, because you have a lot of gamers these days that only play 2 3 games, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, but it's like you got to know these other things. You got to know the world of gaming, so like that. So United We
For
Nerd.
sure.
If you want to give us a little bit of an overview of the history of the creation, maybe of why United We Nerd, the purpose of United We Nerd, and then towards the end of the podcast, we'll plug in some more things for that stuff. Like, but I just want to give our
Okay.
viewers a little bit of who are Brian and Joel from United We Nerd, real quick. If you guys take it away.
All right. Well, United We Nerd is pretty much just a celebration of just all of the things in like nerd culture. Like we like it is kind of hard because I know a lot of people say, like, oh, you should be a very like niche like thing, but it's like, yeah, but we love so many things.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard to just keep talking about like we love Star Wars, we love video games, we love
Mm-hmm.
movies, we love a whole like all these other things. And
hmm
so what really was like the beginning of United We Nerd was just it was actually like a lockdown creation
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
me and Joel and a bunch of other friends, we were like people that we would hang out like multiple times a week, like every week, and we just hang out, play games, play board games, just talk about whatever. And then when lockdown happened, everything just got, at least for me, like speaking for myself, like it felt like a really big disconnect because
Yeah.
like we went from hanging out like every week and multiple times a week to like just hanging out in the room. Like we would have our Discord or our Zoom calls, and we like do like movie like watch along stuff, but it's like it doesn't
It's not the
it
same.
doesn't feel the same. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning of February of 2021, I brought up the idea. It's like, hey, guess what? To make a podcast.
Yeah.
And then I asked
Hey.
Joel and I asked our friend Marcelo, and here we are over 3 years later, and we've just been doing our thing, trying out a whole bunch of different stuff, and just like talking about
Mhm.
all the nerdy stuff we love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh man, I love it, dude. I like I said, I love you guys' stuff. I love you guys. You guys know your stuff. That's what I like. That's what I like. It's like you got it sticks out for me because I've listened to a lot of video game podcasts, a lot of things, and like what's funny is like I find myself whenever I listen to some podcasts and they're talking about games, I'm start naming them out loud, right? Like, oh, but do you have this? You have this, and then when I listen to your guys'
Mhm.
podcast, I'm like, you guys beat me to it before I can even name it out loud because you guys are like, oh, but this, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yes, yes. You guys out nerd me. I love it, and so like it's awesome. But like yeah, United We Nerd. I mean, and I love the title, United We Nerd. Like,
Oh, thank you.
I think it's beautiful what you guys said. Where you said it's like celebration of all things video games and all things, even pop culture and all things that you guys did. I mean, the roundtable that we did with Star Wars, that was so awesome. Like I
Oh
love doing
yes,
that. Check that out again, and I'll
please.
keep
It was
plugging that in
fun.
because that was a fun one. We got deep into
Mhm.
it, and I'm like, I felt like at home. I kind of felt like not to get all sentimental, but like I felt at home because I was like, I love talking with you
Oh, it's
guys.
also
It was great. Like I said, it's like I can't have that conversation, like with my wife or like outside, because then she'd be like, go outside, nerd, get out, go touch some grass, it's like, like
well,
oh, okay.
it's awesome you
Good.
say it. Thank you for the kind words.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
I feel
thank you.
like for us, that's kind of like the whole goal of what
Mm-hmm.
like we want United Winner to be. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
we want it to feel like you having a conversation with all your friends,
Yeah,
and
Mm-hmm.
like it
pretty
could
much.
it could be like based off of just one topic, or it could just branch off into whole different things we didn't even think about we were going to talk about in like
Oh yeah.
a sitting or
Yeah.
anything like
No, for
that.
sure, yeah. But yes, so that's a little bit like a history about you guys, about United We Nerd again. Awesome podcast. I'm leaving all the links below on our channel, everything to go check them out. Give them a like, give them a follow, follow their socials, which we can plug in at the end as well, and stuff. But I think we've
Also,
beaten
if you
this.
haven't followed
No,
this
no, go
guy
ahead.
yet, if you haven't subscribed to this
Yeah,
channel
yeah,
yet,
yeah.
Gansy
Oh
Moss
man,
Yeah,
does
man.
some really cool
Those
work.
TikToks
Go
about
do
board
it.
games, I'm
Go
like, I
do it.
get it. I get it.
right.
Victor gets it. I can't talk about
Uh,
board games with Marcelo all the time. He's on
there
Tekken.
you
He
go.
doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
Like, Brian's
get
busy
out of
playing
here.
Sonic. He doesn't understand
There you
right
go.
now. He
Over
doesn't
here
fucking
playing
care right
Sonic.
now.
Cutscenes in video games, guys. They're one of, I think, a big staple of when it comes to video games when they're trying to convey a story for sure. Um, we've gone through even when it's come to like the old, the SNES or even like the retro gaming ones where it's like just a text space and you just have like them standing in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's considered a cutscene. You're learning about the story. It's conveying a story. It's telling about a story. And through the history, it's evolved from just a text space to now it's like plays out like a movie nowadays. Like even with the modern games,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're watching a movie now. It's like it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
great. It's amazing. And so my first question would be with cutscenes are we'll go even with we'll dive deep with the harder ones. Like what's a thing a memorable cutscene for you that stood out that was like you thought like this is a peak cutscene in gaming. It could even be like something like a basic like 8-bit game, or it could be like a modern game. But for you guys, what do you think is something that's like like it spoke to you like this is a cutscene that like this is gaming for me. This is why I love these games. So yeah, I'm curious you guys hear what you guys feel like it's something. We could go with Joel if you want to take it off the bat right there, and then we'll go with
Oh,
Brian.
I wrote them down.
Let's go.
I got a handful of them. I just want
Okay.
to preface that now that you're mentioning like there's like text and stuff like that. Oh damn, I
Hmm.
could have pulled from more, but I was thinking of like more
Hmm.
cinematic, modern. But
Right. No, sure.
Yeah, we'll talk more about like how they I feel like they're integral and stuff. But
Yeah.
some standout cutscenes for games. Without spoiling too much, we just talked about it before we started, and I had internet issues. Jedi Survivor. There's a
Oh.
huge reveal of a classic villain. That's all I'm going to say. I thought
Mhm.
that really, was like, whoa, as a big Star Wars fan.
Mhm.
In Titanfall 2, you're playing with your buddy BT, and you're like, oh no, you fall, and he catches you. You're like, oh BT, they're selling it, it's great, and then you do a thumbs up, and then BT's like, yeah, thumbs up back. I'm like, bro, I didn't know I had a digital bro. I'm getting
That
sentimental. Um,
nice. Yeah.
Destiny, the first time base game, the last fight I had qualms with, but the coolest thing, you're with your ghost, your little thing that revives you. You're standing there in this battle arena, and Peter Dinklage says to you, "So you think you could kill a god?" I was like, "Ooh, that's sick." Oh, that's
Oh.
nice. Not a great fight,
Oh.
but it was nice. Like that. I was like, "Ooh, I'm ready."
Yeah.
That still sticks with me. I think it's just such a cool moment.
Yeah.
Um, Another one, I know this one is controversial. I wanted to throw it in. For me, was like, because you said like, what's a gaming moment? Like this is gaming. Bioshock Infinite. At the
Okay.
end, there's a bunch of portals leading through the different
Oh
worlds.
yeah.
I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
that's cool. I know it was hit and miss for a lot of people, but for me, it was like, what?
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
going to Columbia. We're going to Rapture. Other Rapture. It's like, whoa,
Mhm.
this is.
Mhm.
There's more possibilities. Like, of course, that's the
Yep.
whole
Yep.
thing, right? I was like, what? It's
Infinite
infinite,
got more
infinite
flack than it
possibilities.
deserved.
Yeah. It's hard to live up to the other two, but yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. But yeah, I just that for me was like I was like, whoa, that's really
Mhm.
cool. I want to say also, I think with cutscenes, we kind of like overlap a little with trailers as well, because sometimes they
Mhm.
put them in like they're in the game or not in the game to hype up the game. Talk more about that too.
Mhm. Mhm.
But for me, for sure, the Baldur's Gate cutscene when after before you create your character, how crisp it looked before the game even came out. You're flying through with the Nautiloid, Lyselle's there. It's so good looking, and it's a fantasy game, right? And I was like, I don't know, but then I played for a fucking year and more, so
Yeah.
it told me how good it looks.
Right. Right.
And without taking up too much airtime, I just want to say Spider-Man 2 and Miles Morales just drives home that story of
Mm.
being a hero who
Oh.
does what's right no matter what. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so hard. You see them go. Spider-Man's always tortured no matter what universe,
Oh
and it's
man. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could drive it home even more with cinematics. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
we'll go more into more I'm sure later. But those are for
For
me.
sure.
So
Okay.
want to hear what
Okay.
you guys
Okay.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian. What we got over here,
Okay.
Brian?
Um. Yeah. The You bring up Spider-Man 2. I just want to like say this real quick, but like, what better way to like kick off a game than like the beginning like intro boss fight that you have to do, and just like Insomniac Games is like showing you, it's like, this is what we're doing, like this is how
Mhm.
far we went for
Hmm.
this game to show you like
Yep.
what the PS5 could do.
Oh yeah. For
So
sure.
shout out
For
to
sure.
them.
Yep.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be like dipping back and forth between like games like the present and past for this.
That's fine. That's fine.
Uh Going all the way back, even though this technically isn't like an actual in-game cutscene, this is the like startup game cutscene
Mm.
for Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo.
Oh, dude.
Mm.
And it hyped me up so much. Like, this was like back in the day, PS2 era, where some studios just understood how to utilize the PS2 in making games that even like to this day you could like look at them and it's like, I could see that game being out nowadays. But it's like them just doing a retelling of like the Gundam coming through, taking out some Zaku's, and you have like
Wow.
those like close up pick like zoom ins, and then just, like the beam shooting across the sky and like having it have like that really nice glow effect. Um, Very cool. Also, kind of dipping off of the PS2 era. Even though it's a game didn't finish because of what it was, Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus
Ooh. Okay.
surprised me so much with having cutscenes that pretty much made it look like, did they just put Advent Children into,
Yeah.
did they
Yeah.
just
Right.
put the
Right.
movie into this game?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how are they doing this on a PlayStation 2? I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
understand. Not
Yeah.
a great game. cutscenes though, like Square Enix just
Yeah.
figured it
Oh
out
my
a long
gosh.
time ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but just like the quality that they were able to get on like a small CD disc was
Yeah.
immaculate.
Yeah.
Um, Dipping into like the the present, the God of War 2018 series,
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think those are some of my favorite cutscenes because of the style that they were able to do, especially like modern like motion capture work,
Hmm.
where it's literally they're just filming the actors like do a scene in the game, but like it's how a lot of cutscenes will have like the pan away or like the transition. So like going from like the gaming code to like the cutscene code, so it's like a
Hmm.
little bit of a load in. But
Yeah.
for the God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, it impressed me so much to like you being in the middle of the game and you just do an action and then the camera starts to like act on its own and it becomes part of the scene. So it's like you never
Hmm.
really leave the game,
Yeah.
but you like walk into the scene and it's like seamless and that impresses me so much. Um I would reference some scenes, but I know Joel, you barely dipped into Ragnarok, so I don't want to
There's
spoil
one scene
anything
I want to
here.
bring up later, but we'll get to that later. There's
Okay.
one I did see.
Uh but yeah, and I know the game's gotten some flack because I feel like some people don't understand that video games are art,
Hmm.
but I honestly believe, as far as like a technical aspect is, the Hellblade series,
Mm.
they figured it out.
Yeah.
They took the Unreal Engine and pushed it to its limit, and
Yeah.
especially with the Hellblade 2 that came out earlier this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god. It's like when every generation of console comes out and like, oh, we have the most realistic graphics you've ever seen. It's like, oh yeah, sure. Like
Yeah.
I could see how, like, no. There's literally parts of Hellblade 2 where I'm looking at the enemy I'm fighting, and it's like, is that a real person? Like
Oh
they literally
wow.
I think some people like clown on it because of it's light on like actual like gameplay, but it's like, well, yeah, because look at what they're doing. Like the environments you're walking through, the enemies that you're fighting, the effects that they're doing
Yeah.
in a game like Hellblade are pushing the limit of like what any like regardless of console or PC doesn't matter. Like they're pushing the limit
Yeah.
of what games can do graphically in
Yeah.
Ninja Theory. And it's wild because if you asked me like in early 2010s, like I would have never taken Ninja Theory seriously as a video game
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like what they've done with Hellblade is
It's good.
has just boggled my mind.
Oh
And
yeah.
I could like show you like I have a snapshot on my Xbox home screen
Hmm.
of just I just had Senua stop like in the middle of the game. It's like no cutscenes, nothing. I took a picture and it almost looks like legitimately real.
Oh wow.
And this is
Yeah.
just her like hunched over in the cave. Like
Hmm.
no special gameplay happening. It's like it's amazing of
Oh
what
yeah,
some
for
people can
sure.
do.
Yeah. No, Hellblade's a good. It's a good series. I haven't played the second one, but I played the first one, and I was like, I enjoyed the story of that game because I was like, dang,
The
this
story's
girl,
great.
this girl be struggling. This girl's struggling the whole game. Like she's struggling. Like, but I mean, that's the point of the game of her struggle, and I'm just like, man, like dealing with the voices in her head, and I was there. I'm just like, man, it's a good game. Gameplay was okay. I'm not the
It's a
biggest.
story game.
It's a very story game. Yes,
It's a story game.
it's not a game where you're blown
Yeah.
away by how the gameplay mechanics are. I played it
Yeah.
mostly because I'm more of a story, like I love story more than anything. That's why I love cutscenes. But like yeah, definitely a big story one. Yeah, and Hellblade was a very great story one. I even enjoyed A Plague's Tale. That was also like a very
Oh
good story,
yeah.
very story game.
Mhm.
That was interesting because I was curious. I'm like, what's going on with the rats? What's happening? What's going on? It kind of a little fantasy-ish, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But great mentions for you guys for your cutscenes. Joel, you mentioned Bioshock. I mean, to me, a big cutscene that stands out to me with Bioshock is the revelation of in the first one of like who you really are.
Oh yeah, yeah,
When you
yeah.
when you meet Andrew Ryan for the first time, and like you end up like, I mean, spoilers for like a really old game for anyone that hasn't played it, but where you end up killing Andrew Ryan because he tells you to kill
Oh,
him.
I know.
That
That was like, whoa.
I was like, "What the crap was happening?" Like,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, and it's revealing like, oh, a child that was, born in the test chamber, like was trained to, obey orders by a phrase, would you
Yeah,
kindly, and then
yeah,
out, and then he's like, would you kindly kill? And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Stop killing him! And
yeah.
then and then the cutscene. It's like not a cutscene, but like it's still, I consider it a cutscene because you're still like in the game, but like stuff
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
tech stuff is happening.
Mhm.
When you give control over to Atlas, which turns out to be is Fontaine, right? Yeah, like
Yeah, it's Fontaine.
Fontaine. Like it turns out to be Fontaine. He was tricking you the whole time. And I was like, bro, like to me that was like peak storytelling for me. Like I was like, dude, like
Oh, it
what is
was
happening?
yeah.
It was amazing and stuff. And and then the Final Fantasy cutscenes, like I mean, like you were talking about with Final Fantasy 7, like for me it was like Final Fantasy 10 when I'm playing 10 and then the cutscene
Oh
happens.
yeah.
And is this a PS2 graphics? Like what? This is like a movie. Like what in the world? Like what is
Square Enix found their niche and they went hard.
They
Yeah,
did,
they
and
did.
they had great ones. Which you guys mentioned, God of War with the cutscenes, how it's like integrated, which kind of segues to my next point, where it's like when it comes to cutscenes, what are your guys' preferences of like a cutscene? Do you feel like a cutscene should
Okay.
kind of should stand out as it? This is a cutscene, like you don't have to do anything, or is it like do you want it to be so seamless, like you don't even know if you're still playing a game or you're in a cutscene? I mean, I know God of War does a great job where it's like it like seamlessly puts you into a cutscene where you're thinking like, oh wait, I'm not playing anymore. This is a cutscene. Or a perfect example is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. When it's a cutscene, you see like the black screen, like the like it turns into like a movie where like
That was a good
Yeah,
touch. That was a
yeah.
real good touch.
I thought that was awesome because I'm like, oh, it's just like Star Wars with the same aspect ratio, how it does. And I'm like, I thought that was cool because I'm like, okay, now I know I'm in a cutscene and I'm gonna follow along with the story. I lean towards more of that, where it's like it's a cutscene, this is happening. Things are like even like when there's like a stutter in a game and then it cuts into a cutscene like that. I enjoy that because it's like, okay, I made it through this far. Nothing wrong with the seamless version where it's like part of the game and it's like a quick cutscene and then you keep playing the game. Nothing wrong
Mhm.
with that as well. But I like to know when I'm like in a movie where I can just kind of like relax and like, all right, cool. Like, let me enjoy the storyline. I'm curious to hear you guys' opinions. What do you guys think? Brian, I know you had some thoughts with it. Maybe you wanted to talk about something like that.
Okay.
Uh, We'll
So
go with Brian and Joel.
I, you know, I'm just gonna preface this thing now. Like, I know maybe my thought process is just weird.
Hmm.
I'm fully admitting that, but it depends on the kind of game that you're playing,
Okay.
whether or not something like works or not. My pet peeve though, it's at a game that feels like it can't decide on what style it wants to do.
Okay.
Um, it's more prominent in more anime games or
Hmm.
kind of more modern RPGs that kind of bug me a little bit, where they'll go back and forth between having like full animated cutscenes and then uh it'll only last for like maybe a minute or like a minute, like less than a minute,
Yeah.
and then they'll transition into still images that have text and dialogue and whatnot,
Yeah.
and even then, like for stuff like that, it's like you'll have games where it'll have some audio dialogue but then it'll just transition to the full text, which
Yeah.
for RPGs it's not like a big taboo because that's kind of
Yeah.
how they've been the whole time.
Hmm.
But it's these games that are starting to adopt like RPG elements into their
Hmm.
games,
Yeah.
like kind of like the more recent Assassin's Creed games. Like not Assassin's Creed though, because they do their own thing. But I'm saying like games like that that start adopting that kind of habit for me is
Yeah.
kind of a pet peeve, just because I can see like the work that they've done for like the minimal cutscenes they have, but then when they pull back, like I understand it's like a budgeting issue, but for
Right.
me it's
Right.
just like it's either you go in or you don't. Like the half and half just kind of turns me off a little bit
Right.
sometimes.
Right. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. What about you, Joel? What do you think? What do you think? Preference
Um,
of cutscene.
I think based on what you said and what Brian's saying, I could kind of agree. I like when it's clear, like this is what it's about. But I think also like I think sometimes it's an artistic choice to kind of go branch out.
Yeah.
For me personally, I like when they're creative. I'll say this for Ragnarok, I didn't make it far in God of War 5, but there's a really cool in between. There's a fight, there's a cutscene, you die, and it jumps you back in
Oh,
with a cutscene.
Mm.
it's
It's
so good.
really cool, and it blew my mind. And
Oh wow.
I just was like, oh shit, what? And then like
Yeah.
I'm brought back in with this like little cinematic moment, and
Okay.
shit like that I think is
Mm-hmm.
great and brave. And
Mm-hmm.
with games like I'm playing Outlaws right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the cutscene, then it kind of goes, it pans out, and then you're back in. I'm like, ooh, that was just like, yeah, I can kind of tell like it's the cutscene, and then it goes to the game, but it's
Yeah.
almost seamless sometimes. Like, wow. And
Yeah.
for me, I'm okay with that, and I know, like, but I'm not nitpicking. It's like, cool, this is cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like ever since like games have made it important to really flesh out the characters and go in like games like Outlaws, Survivor, Mass Effect. I think it's really important, but also to kind of know what you're about as well. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
that answers your question.
No, for sure, definitely. And yeah, I know what you're talking about, Brian, when you say like the kind of like the more like the JRPG games, like the Persona games, and like how it's like animated, and then it goes back to the game, and then it goes to like the person, and they're talking, and it's like a cutscene text, and I'm like, okay,
Like, I'll
what's
give
going on?
yeah, like I'll give you
Yeah,
another
go ahead.
example. The Danganronpa series.
Yeah,
I watched the Game Grumps play it, and it's entertaining because there's an extra element in there. But like, I
yeah,
will never play those games because I know I will get so disinterested because there will be
mm-hmm,
moments where they'll have like these very like artistically styled like cutscenes,
yeah,
and then they'll have moments where the characters will have dialogue, but then they won't
yeah,
in the same sequence. I'm like,
yeah,
this is so confusing. It's like it's
yeah,
throwing my brain off because I'm like sitting down ready to like watch a cutscene, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, no one's talking. Okay,
yeah.
read the text.
Right, right, yeah.
So,
No, I understand. Yeah, and those ones that's a big turnoff for me. Where you're like, okay, what is happening? What am I interacting? Or am I not interacting? What's happening? Which is funny because like there's a little thing that I wanted to like throw by you guys, like see what you guys do. But some of these video games we play, like when it's like a cutscene, it's like a cutscene, but like you can still move your character around. You can still do things like kind of like Assassin's Creed. Remember Assassin's Creed when
Oh
the
yeah.
first one when you're Altair and you're talking to the leader and you can still move around, do like things funny or like
Yeah.
yeah, some of those games. I'm curious to know when that happens. What do you as a player, like you, Brian, you, Joel, like when you're playing, what are you doing? Are you just like interacting with like trying to be like role play with the game and like just stand there and listen, or like even like something like a little thing of what I would do is like let's say the main character is like standing, you get to move him around, and then the guy you're talking to moves to the right. I purposely move my character to the right to like make sure like I'm facing him, like I'm talking like in storyline. Whereas like one of my buddies is like just running around, jumping around, like messing around, like messing with the whole environment, like doing all things. He doesn't care about what's happening. He's just like, oh look, I can run around, I can like punch stuff, I can do stuff. So I'm curious, what do you guys do? Are you guys like in the story? Are you trying to be like act out the character like physically with the like the controller, or are you just like, yeah, I'm just gonna mess around, roll, do things like do whatever I can, stuff like that. I'm curious to know what you guys want. I'll let whoever wants to take it off with that one.
Joel, why don't you kick it off?
Yeah,
Um, I go back and forth, Vic. If I'm being honest,
yeah.
sometimes I'm
No,
like,
for sure.
yes, I am one with the shadows, and other days I'm like, fuck this. Phantom's running around in circles while you're talking.
He's like doing rolls. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think it depends on the game and my mood
yeah.
as well.
Okay.
Definitely, because there's some games where it's like when you've seen this cutscene 10 times because you died or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like, okay, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whatever. I'm spinning in circles. Hidden
Mm-hmm.
blade keeps coming out. But the first time
Yeah.
you're like, okay, or when you have that choice to like, they say walk with me. Like, okay, I'll walk. I'll
Mm-hmm.
listen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it really for me it depends on my mood and the game too. Like if it's kind of
Yeah.
like goofy, I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, whatever, who cares? But if
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like a true like post climax moment, or something's about to happen or something did just happen, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Okay.
What about
Brian,
you,
what
Brian?
about you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, kind of like Joel. It's like it very depends on the game
Mm-hmm.
and how they curate it. Examples I can give. I don't know if you played the Guardians of the Galaxy game that came out like a year or two ago.
Like the one that was like created by Marvel, like the Marvel, not not the obviously it's
The
by Marvel, but
Square
the same
Enix?
creators that the one that made the same one as the Avengers game, same
I believe
that one.
so. The one it's like you play as Star Lord, but like you have like the other Guardians. It's like the
Yeah,
big
yeah,
story game that
right.
honestly
Yeah.
kind of flew under the radar, but it was actually a pretty decent game. The
Okay.
only issue, and some games have this issue where they will tie the audio to the character in proximity.
Yeah.
And so if you start to venture out too far, the audio actually starts to kick out
Okay.
and you start losing the dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's annoying because
Yeah.
sometimes like you just kind of want to move around, but then you have to keep close to the NPC it's talking.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
think games like as much as we love hate Destiny 2, I feel like they've done a good job because they'll have the small little character interaction that like pops into the game world. But if you wanted to do something else while they're talking, they just have like intercoms
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that you can still hear the dialogue even though you're not watching the scene happen in front
yeah.
of you,
It
Yeah.
goes to like
which
Yeah.
a
I think
radio. Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
and it like
That's
fades
awesome.
in and out the more you get closer to them. So it's like it
Yeah, yeah,
goes from back and forth between real and intercom
Yeah.
audio.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I just thought of while you're giving us this prompt, Vic, was
Yeah.
how Gears of War handled it, where
Mm.
they had the dialogue that was obviously like a load in like buffer, but then what happened was when they get an intercom, your character would put their head up to
Yep.
their finger of the
Mm-hmm.
intercom, and then they would walk slower, and
Yep. Yep.
so while they're giving you that bit of dialogue, they're putting you in the moment of like
Mm-hmm.
whoever you're playing as, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
Dom or Coltrane or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're putting yourself into the world. Like, okay, I'm
Yep.
getting
Mm-hmm.
information. I'm going to walk slowly and I'm going to meander a little bit, but
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
it's still getting you involved in the story still.
Definitely,
yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. That's oh man, you're right. You're right about that. I totally forgot about Gears of War where it does that. Because I remember I did that once and like I walked too far ahead and like I guess like it glitched out. So then the enemy was out and started shooting me. I'm still like Anya, stop talking to me.
Oh
They're
no.
attacking me. Like stop talking to me. I can't get up. I'm being attacked. I'm about to die. Which I get, which is perfect. Which I'm glad you mentioned that because now it brings me to my kind of our rounding it off the podcast here. But is we talked about how much we love the cutscenes and what we thought about it. But what do you think are like big cons about having a cutscene or like some like gripes we have about cutscenes
Mm.
within video games? I mean, I mean, I think we can all agree maybe one that we might be in unison with, maybe we're not. I'm curious is like not having the ability to skip a cutscene. I know
Oh,
some games like you can't skip because you have to rewatch a cutscene over again. To me, I hate that. Like, I mean, we can probably all maybe as games we because like I love watching the cutscene again, but like if I die and I have to redo a cutscene again, like okay, let's just
oh yeah.
especially
Yeah,
if a
yeah.
cutscene's like long, like I'm skipping. I want to skip. Like let's go, let's keep playing.
Hmm.
I mean, I have a buddy of ours, Scott. I'm pointing, throwing you under the bus, but this guy skips cutscenes even if he has like hasn't played the game. He's like, I just want to play the game. I'm like, bro, watch the story. Let's watch. He's like, no, let's just skip. Let's just skip. Let's just get right to it. Let's get right. I'm like, bro, like I need to know why I'm here. Like all of a sudden, it's like the Yakuza games. Like you can't skip those cutscenes because all of a sudden you're like having a meaningful
Oh.
conversation, and if you skip the cutscene, you're like go karting like downtown, like with something. You're like, whoa, how'd I get
What
here?
happened
Like,
here?
yeah, what happened here? Like, how'd I get to this area? And so like you lose the whole context. But yeah, I think we can all agree with like, yeah, not being able to skip a cutscene is pretty much annoying. But I'm curious to know, well, what are maybe some gripes that you would have when it comes to cutscenes? I'm curious, Brian, if you want to go ahead with that one.
Um, yeah, the one that just came up the top of my head, kind of relates to what you're talking about, Vic, where
Okay.
like it's cool if it's the first time you're seeing the cutscene and you can't skip it, fine, watch this cutscene.
Yeah.
I wish some games do this, but I wish more games would just have it implemented to where if you die in the encounter multiple times, like just bypass the whole skipping the cutscene thing and just reload back into the start of the encounter.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to see that cutscene anymore. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you give us a skip button, but it's like I'm just wasting time at this point. Just let me get
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
into the action. I know what
Mm-hmm.
happened.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna memorize these lines by the time I'm, especially if it's a hard game, for sure.
Hmm.
Definitely. What about you, Joe? You got any gripes? What we got here?
I agree. I think if it's one thing, if like they don't have the cutscenes for later, I guess it's okay. Like you can't skip, but it's like, God damn, this guy's killed me 10 fucking times. I don't want to hear his
Yeah.
stupid voice, But
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you can skip it after the first time, love it. Or if you're always able to skip it, it's available for you later, like in a menu. I know some games do that, not every game,
Mm.
Hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
someone's like, oh, I want to relive this cool moment,
Yeah.
and sometimes I don't. So
Yeah.
I think having options is great. Like I know sometimes it's probably not in their budget or they're rushing and gaming crunch all that. But yeah, unskippable cutscenes not a great thing, honestly.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the universal thing. Like, you can't skip a cutscene after you've seen it like 3 times. You're like, okay, I get interested in the game. Like, okay, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to play this game anymore. If like I can't, if I have to watch like a 5 minute more cutscene again of like how we're getting into this fight, like I don't want to. Go ahead, Brian. You got something
No,
that popped in your head.
I just thought of a very niche complaint that I have that
Okay.
has barely anything to do with most video games, but it's for real. Obviously, I am a wrestling fan. I
Okay.
play the WWE games a lot, for better or worse. Um, and they have the ability when you're playing online with people, like you can custom make your own wrestlers, and it's so much fun.
Hmm.
But then you can go online and you can actually have like your entrance. And it's like your custom made entrance that you made for your character.
Hmm.
Um, and some games do this, which is kind of my irk, is that the other player can skip your entrance or your cutscene.
Mm. Okay.
This
Okay.
could also go into fighting games too, where
Yeah.
like the other player can override your intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bothers me because like I could skip my intro and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, what if it's like a character I really like and it's like I wanna it
See
helps me
the
get
intro.
into the mode of like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's go, we're gonna fight.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like my opponent just skips my cutscene. It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
deflating.
Come on, jerk, man. This is cool. Let's get in the mode. Like,
Yeah, it's like people
yeah,
are just
yeah.
here to have fun, man. Come
Well,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they should.
I
I think a beautiful way to like incorporate that would be like I don't know if you guys play like the FIFA games. When you play a FIFA game, like it does like the whole introduction of introducing the players, introducing like the whole like commentary, whatever. So
Mhm.
whenever someone wants to skip it, on the bottom it'll show like a check mark, meaning like this guy wants to skip, and then it'll have
Yeah.
two more check marks saying like if two more people say yes to skipping, then we'll skip the scene. If not, then we'll
Oh,
go through the whole thing.
Back for Blood did that, and I actually
Okay.
like that. I mean, if you could tell when there's a new player, it's like, okay, we're gonna watch this cutscene. But if
Yeah.
it's like 3 out of 4 don't want to watch it, if you've all done
It'll show
this,
the
like, oh,
problem.
we could all skip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
think that I think it'd be a good incorporation when it's like, yeah, when it comes to the wrestling games or the fighter games, it's like you show him he wants to skip, and you could be like, okay, if he really wants to get it, okay, I'll skip the intro. But if you're like, no, I want to watch it, it's like you're gonna watch this with me.
I
You-
it's like I spent 2 hours making this entrance and I'm gonna show you it, damn it.
yeah, yeah, and you're gonna watch it. I don't care. I don't care. You're gonna watch it. Which well, we'll go with my final question I had here for the podcast is kind of going back to what we talked about seamless cutscenes and then actual like movie type cutscenes. Do you think we should have cutscenes in video games in general now moving forward? Do you think it should just all be seamless type of cutscenes where it's like it flows through? Obviously, you can't just cut out cutscenes because then it's like we have no story. Like you just got we have to read or like figure it out. But I guess to rephrase it, it's like, do you think our cutscenes now should be more integrated where it's like smooth, where it's like kind of God of War esque, where it's like you don't know you're in the cutscene, or should we have those moments where it's like this is a cutscene and we're gonna make sure you know it's a cutscene and like you're letting go like that? What do you guys think? Do you think we should
Hmm.
keep how it was where it's like if it's a cutscene like everything stops and then we just show the cinematic cutscene, or should be kind of God of War where it's like everything's just one whole constant, like the whole game is a cutscene pretty much and you're just playing it. What do you guys think? What do you guys think with that?
For me, it really just depends on who's making it,
Okay.
what their intention is. Because
Mhm.
yeah, it would be cool if like every game could have cutscenes like God of War or, like the top like single player games that are around nowadays. But like some studios either don't want to do that or can't do that. So
Yeah.
it for me, it just really just depends on the what the studio has or what they want to do for their game and like just making it fit in well, because like some of the coolest cutscenes are not like the highest graphical, but like they're just so stylized that
Hmm.
it just fits within the world, and like you kind of don't mind that it's literally just like a screen wipe into like a whole different thing, and it's like
Hmm.
fully kicking you out of like gameplay,
Yeah.
you know for because like for me it's like you're saying, Vic. Yeah, just like cutscenes are always gonna be around because that's like one of the funner ways to tell like stories for some
Yeah.
games. So
Yeah.
I don't want everything to be like the same. Like I just want
Yeah.
like the studios making it just to be able to put their own like style into it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Castlevania, it's just text saying, Dracula, what is a man but a miserable pile of lies? Like, that's fine. I don't
Yeah.
expect it to go fucking, I'm Kratos style Alucard
Yeah.
about to fight Dracula, then it go back to side scroller.
Yeah, yeah.
With Destiny, like sometimes it's just like we're in the middle of something, boom, goes to black, then it's cutscene, and that's okay. That's what I expect. With God of War, Uncharted, and Last of Us,
Yeah.
and even Outlaws, it's super seamless, and that's cool.
Mhm.
But even then, it's like I don't mind it being kind of clunky sometimes.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's
Mhm.
just the intention of the game. But yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely, I still think, need cutscenes, small capacity or not. It brings life to the story,
Mhm.
even if it's goofy, right? I mean, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, there's like a goofy cutscene with this lady who thinks she has Pegasus. I mean,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's funny, it's silly, and we need.
Mhm.
I think we did need it, right? That sometimes you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have the super serious moments, also like this. So,
Some
just showing
goofy
what
ones, yep.
happens, and it makes you feel things. I mean, look at
Mhm.
Mass Effect with your crew, Metal Gear, Witcher,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Shows growth or
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
It's integral. I mean, there are obviously some games like I don't think Fortnite Battle Royale needs a cutscene every time, but
Yeah. Oh my
or
god, when they
even
introduce
with
like
racing
yeah.
games,
When they
I'm
do
here to
though,
race. I don't want the CS starter engines this time, but I
Yeah.
understand there's a need, like typing you up. Even with Street Fighter, some days I'm like, I want to see them chant, I want to see my character bounce, and I'm ready to bounce, and then sometimes like, all right, let's just fight,
Yeah.
So I
Just
think
get straight to it, yeah.
having the choice is cool, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need our story beats in that.
No, I agree.
mhm.
Yeah, you guys said it well. Put it well. That I feel like I think there's also a good balance. Like because there's games that have way too many cutscenes, and you're like, okay, skip, skip, skip. Like this, like I'm watching like a half-hour movie before I can even get to like the first mission. Like with
Oh
like
yeah,
those type of games. And I'm like,
Metal
Oh,
Gear
playing
4.
playing Metal Gear 4,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Oh my god. And I'm just like, dude, like, okay, we get it. Like I'd rather you tell it to me while I'm playing. I don't want to like keep watching it and just like
like okay, Kojima, we know you're an artist.
yeah, yeah.
Get
We know
over
you love your
it.
story. Yeah, we know you love your storytelling, but like, if I paid $60 for a movie, man, come on, like I play for a game. I'm here playing for a game. I'm not trying to get a movie going here. But yeah, I think when it comes to cutscenes, the art style and the history of cutscenes and the need of cutscenes, I think obviously needed for video games to explain a story, to explain what is happening. I think these game developers are coming up with creative ways to integrate cutscenes instead of having the whole like when we had it back in the day when like it was like PlayStation One or even like some of the slightly less modern games where when it's a cutscene like it'll like start loading for a minute and then it'll go into a cutscene and then when it's done cutscene
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
loading and then it'll go to the gameplay. I think I
Mhm.
think a lot of developers are now like finding a way how to like not get away from that loading screen and going straight into like the game. It's not like Rockstar where like when you skip a cutscene you have to wait for the loading screen and then you go back into the game with like GTA or Red Dead Redemption.
Mhm.
Beautiful games, awesome games, but yes, they have their loading screens are way too much for me to be honest.
Uh,
Good.
I know we're kind of rounding out the podcast right now, but
No,
I actually thought of a question I wanted to ask you guys.
no, please, yeah,
Yeah, me too. I got one too,
What
unless
yeah,
he says the same one.
no, no. Let's
what
go. I
is
was
your
gonna yeah.
opinion?
Uh-huh.
What is your guys' opinion on having quick time events and cutscenes?
Ooh, I I don't like them to be honest. Um,
Okay.
I don't like. Okay, you know what? I love hate for
No,
me.
I
I
mean
like
that's
them because
fair.
yeah, because like I like being involved in it, but sometimes when it's a cutscene, I kind of like put my controller down and I'm start watching it. So then there's like a
Exactly. And it's
cutscene,
like,
I'm like, yeah, like, oh, fuck, like something's happening. Yeah, I'm not a big unless I'm like zoned in and like it's like I know these games have these type of like QTEs, then
Mhm.
yes, I'm like I'm locked in. But if it's like a very storytelling game, I'm not trying to like get involved in the story. I'm trying to like have the story told to me. I'm not trying to be part of the story. I'm trying to like have it be told so I can be part of it. So
I just
it's a
want to
love
see
hate
the
for me.
character do the cool thing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to like if I miss it, I get beat up, and then it's like all right, yeah. For
Mhm.
me, yeah, it's a love hate. Yeah, but
Brian, on that question, you reminded me of a game that literally is all about that, which hit me hard. I forgot to mention it. The Walking Dead Telltale series.
yes,
It's
Oh
yes,
literally
yeah.
that's all.
cutscenes and actions and quick time.
Yep,
And
yep, yep, yep.
I think if you know it's good, I do like being sometimes caught off guard. I mean, but yeah, sometimes I'm like, I'm putting my controller down. I'm here to absorb the story.
Yeah,
Um, I think it depends on the game. Like for instance, Outlaws has a little bit of that. It's like there was an event happening. Oh, cool little cutscene. It's like, oh wait, I'm getting involved. Like for this, it was okay, right? And then Telltale is like, you're about to choose if they die. Like, oh shit, wait, no, I'm not ready. I thought it was a cutscene.
Yeah. Oh my
But
god, yeah.
again, I think it just depends on the game. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, if Destiny's having quick time events, I'm like, what? We're here
Yeah,
now?
like,
like,
yeah.
but I think it is a good way to keep us engaged sometimes. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, it also goes back to your question, like, what do you want from us here? Like, I think it's as long as they're consistent, or like if we're doing a cut scene with QuickTime event, I guess we should expect that in the future. But like, if you just throw in one and it's like, oh, that was it, like, I don't know. Personally, I think it works. But yeah, just again, the tone of the game, I think has to work.
No, I agree.
That's a bit.
I'm glad you mentioned Telltale because that's all cutscene. That's like just all cutscene, but like you're involved in it. And like I said, Brian, like what you said, Brian, where like quick time events, like that's a game where like I know I need to be ready for that because that's what the game is. Like the Batman Telltale games were like so awesome. I love those.
Oh
ones.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, like those were great. And like man, those are games where I literally stopped because I didn't like a decision. I'm like, no, this is not Batman. I had to like go and redo the scene again because I'm like I wasn't so happy with my choices, especially and even the Walking Dead ones. I was like, those games stressed me out so bad because I'm like. No, but I want to save him. But I gotta do this. Like, no, I can't.
Like I feel so bad now.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh man, like the first one with Lee, and man, like, dude, I teared up at the end because I was like, oh, Lee, no.
I love the infographic of what people chose. That was cool.
Oh, like, that was cool. Yeah, like percentages.
Did
like,
this, you did this. 10% did this. That was
forever. My favorite statistic about the first season of The Walking Dead was. Throughout the whole series or the whole season, like everybody kept shitting on Ben because like he just keeps messing up, he keeps fumbling the bag and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it got to the point where it's like, okay, you're gonna choose if he lives or dies, and like all those people are like, I don't want him to die.
Yeah. He screwed up. I'm not gonna kill him because of that. Like, yeah. Oh no,
that's what we did. Bye, Ben.
Yeah. Get out of here, Ben. Telltale does a good job. It does a very good storytelling game and good cutscene games, which a shout out to them as well. But Brian, you had your question. Joe, I know you had some questions. You go ahead.
One. I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are. Like, for instance, there's some games that have their cutscenes or they flesh out their characters separate. Like it's not even in the game. Talking about Overwatch, I used to really love that series, and I would. It's like, boys, let's get on with play. I have my distance from it now. But I just think, what do you guys think? Like when they have a new character, the cutscene isn't in the game. You got to go somewhere else and watch it, or they'll drop it on their social media, or sometimes it'll be a silent drop, right? I'm just curious what you guys think when they do that. If that's a good engagement tool, or should it stay in the game? Just want to hear your thoughts.
It's kind of rough because for something like Overwatch, it's kind of weird just because as much as they tried to like put story into it, it's like purely a multiplayer game. And so it's like it's there if people want it, and it's the game's not bogged down by it for people that don't care about it. So for that situation, I can see it being okay. But one thing for me, I know Joel, you and some of our other friends are like really into like Destiny lore and stuff like that. But for me, it's like if it's not in the game, I'm not gonna go look at all the Grimoire, like especially in D1 with all the Grimoire cards. I'm not gonna read through hours of like Grimoire cards to get like deep lore. It's like I'm not that kind of person personally. So it's cool that it's there for people that care about it, but I know.
I agree. I agree with Brian. Yeah, like if it's not like if it's like an add-on or something like that, and then like I have to go do an extra thing to just go see a cutscene or go see something, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like I'll go YouTube it, or I'll go watch it. I'll go watch the trailer for it. I'm not gonna go out of my way to go to it. Like I said, even like when it comes with lore, like Elden Ring, I love Elden Ring, but like you gotta go like read stuff. I'm not here. I'm not trying to read. I'm trying to like understand. I'm just trying to like get good at this game. I'm not trying to like if I want to read, I'll keep reading my Lord of the Ring books that I'm going through. Like I'm not trying to like figure out lore. I could always YouTube it and stuff like that. That's the kind of like I don't know if it's like a problem or like it's a blessing where we have access to like be able to just watch a video on it or like someone explain it to us that did the research. So shout out to you guys that did the research and like everything like to provide it for us so we can learn it.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, someone's got to do it.
So there's whole videos. This guy named Biff, he does like hours of Destiny lore explanations, and I'm like, holy shit. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I like reading it sometimes. I'm not gonna fucking watch a 2-hour video. Good on you,
Yeah.
Biff. I
Yep.
also want to just bring it back a little. I think it's cool when like here's the cutscene you have to watch, but there's extra you go get it. And I think shout out to
Mhm.
Mhm.
Sleeper Game of the Year last year, Exo Primal, or 2 years ago.
Oh
There were
yeah.
cutscenes
Mm.
and like other dialogue you could go get if you wanted. But of course,
Mhm.
there's like I'd say like maybe 6 or 7 integral cutscenes. But
Mhm.
like it's like if you wanted to hear more, you could go get it in game, and I think that's always cool. Like if you want it, it's
Gotcha.
there. But like
It,
here's the 7 you gotta watch, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we could even throw it to the Mass Effect series.
oh
Like
yeah,
they did something very similar where
Yeah.
it gave you the story that they're telling you directly that was involved with your character, but then you
Yeah.
can go to the codex and just learn
yeah,
so much stuff
yeah.
about the whole world if you
The
want
whole
to, and
world.
it's all
Yep. Yep. Yep.
categorized.
hmm
So it's very cool to have it there for people that really want to get into it,
Uh-huh.
but it's
Yeah.
also not necessary. That's the thing. I think if it's a good balance,
Yeah.
it's fine. But if you lose something within the regular story of the game because you didn't go off and like read a bunch of text somewhere else,
Mhm.
that's the issue that I
Yeah.
don't like.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree. I agree with that and stuff. My final question, that kind of like, I think this question could like be a podcast episode in itself, which I think little spoilers. We'll have you guys back on. We can talk about this one as well, but we could give a little
Yeah.
I'm
precursor,
ready. Let's go. Let's
little
go.
sneak peek is like a lot of games, especially when it comes to RPG games and yeah, like a lot of customizable games where you can customize your character, right? You can give them hats and like
Yeah.
can change it, whatever. Well, how do you feel about when a cutscene happens and it goes back to like the default character, your default main character, where like he's back to his like his regular
Oh.
clothes, or if it's like the cutscene and it's like he has like the crazy glasses on and like he's like, but it's like a serious scene or something like that, and he's like has like feathers on him, and he's like all like decked out in pink or whatever, and it's like we need to kill the zombies. So what do we do? And you're over here with like goofy guys, like I don't know if we should, what do you guys feel? Do you guys feel like you like customizing it, but like when it comes to cutscenes, you want to keep it pure, where it's like, all right, is this character, or it's like, no, I want to see like the crazy stuff I put on him in this cutscene and stuff like that. I'm curious to hear like what do you guys feel about that?
Joel, you take this one first.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it depends on the game. I'm thinking about because with Destiny, we all know chasing certain weapons are the end game. But for those who really
Mhm.
know, fashion is the fucking end game of
there
Destiny.
you go. Yep.
And I think it's funny when I'm running up and all of a sudden it's like we have to stop the robot, and it's like me in my cowboy hat, right? And then like the
yeah,
mech armor, and like
yeah,
sometimes I'm
yeah.
feeling it, and then yeah, I think with other games again it's intentional. Like with Clementine, if I unlocked a clown outfit, big head mode, and she's like, Lee, I'm sorry, you're like, maybe not for that one.
Yeah.
But it just depends on the game. But I think
Yeah.
Mhm.
if the game is leading into the character creation, then yeah, you should show off what you're doing. And some people are
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good about that. Like, oh, my character is like the sneaky like rogue, and they look like it. And
Hmm.
uh, I think it just again depends on the game. Like if your game is meant to be super serious, but you have customer character
Yeah.
customization, then perhaps default. But I mean, also like you work hard to get those outfits, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think with sometimes in Assassin's Creed it would default, which I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
not the outfit I have right now. But
A
I
little
mean,
bit.
Yep. Mhm.
also it's like this is their character, this is how they see themselves. Like even if we're a
Yeah.
different character controlling them, so I think it
Yeah.
depends.
Okay.
I think we're on similar minds about this, just because
Hmm.
there are the times where there's games where it's like, yeah, we have all these customizations that you can do, and then once it gets into the story cutscenes, like, and we're taking away for a minute.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of disheartening because like you were saying, Joel, like people invest a whole bunch of time in creating their character, and then
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
to have it not represented within the story, as goofy as it may look within the world, I
Yeah.
feel like it's, if they're allowing those customization options to be in the game, like this
Hmm.
should be in the story. You just be a goofy character.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then like at the same time, it's just the idea of maybe it's just because there's like a lot of work that goes into that, but it's either like I was saying before, it's like you go in all the way or not at all. Like
Right.
if you don't want the story character to look goofy, then don't add
Correct.
those options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Treat the game that you want people to play it as, not
Yeah.
how they want, like how the players want to play it,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
is
Right.
just goofy to me. So that's like the ultimate example is just playing Dead Rising and then
Oh,
having
Right.
Frank be like in his boxers, but also like wearing a horse head, holding a katana, and it's like
yeah, yeah,
everything is just acting normal. It's
yeah, yeah.
like it's just
Exactly. Yeah.
a
Oh
normal
man,
conversation. It's like okay,
I love those games are amazing and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like we gotta save the survivors. I'll go out there and save them. You know, you have like you're like naked and have like nothing on but
or
like a
like
little Fez
or
hat on.
dressed up like Mega Man with like a Mega
Yeah, exactly.
Buster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mega Man's like, who are you? Like, I'm Frank. I'm a photographer. Yeah, you have Mega Man on. You're like, oh, okay, all right. Like cool things. Um, but Joel and Brian, I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast, talking all things video games, cutscenes. I know if we weren't constrained by time or anything, and we're not busy, we could go for like 8 plus 10 hours just talking about video games, which I love doing that, gaming sessions and stuff like
Always.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly, and I know
Yeah.
we can, and like sadly, life happens, we got stuff, but that just tells me that we got future podcast episodes we got to do now. We got more
Hey,
podcast episodes we
Let's
got to
do
start
it.
talking
Let's
about.
do it.
Let's
I'm
do it. Let's
ready.
run it. I'm very
round
excited
two.
for the
Let's go.
future. I'm excited. Like I said, we talked about some ideas that we want to bounce off of that I think it would be great to have a good series going, especially with your guys' podcast and our podcast. I think it'll be awesome to do it. I'm very excited for the future
Oh,
for
for sure.
contents. Um, Real quick plugs. Let's throw in some plugs for you guys. And I know we talked about it at the very beginning with the
Oh
United
boy.
Nerd podcast. Anything else you guys want to plug in? Go ahead. This is your time. The floor is yours, guys. And we'll leave everything you guys say. We'll put all the links below on the descriptions for you guys to check out. And please check them out. Give them a follow. Let's bring up their numbers. Let's bring up their views. Let's bring up their subscriber counts.
Ooh.
Let's do that, please. But yeah, Brian, Joel, guys, what do you guys? What do we plug in? What else can they find you here? Where you guys on?
Of course, we're pretty much everywhere. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yes.
I post
sometimes.
I post stuff
There you-
sometimes.
Yep.
We're even on Facebook. Shout out to our Facebook viewers though. We got really surprised. We thought Facebook was a dead platform, but apparently there's people that like to watch stuff there. So shout
Yeah,
out to you
it's
guys
growing.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, we live stream on Twitch every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific. Just whether we're playing games, having fun conversations like we do here,
Mhm.
and of course, like Vic mentioned before, he was a guest on one of our shows, the
Yes,
Roundtable, where
sir.
Joel hosted a roundtable discussion about Star Wars, which was
Yes.
a lot of
yeah.
fun.
Check that out. That
And
is such a fun episode.
there's might be another one coming up real soon that you want to check out.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Stay tuned for that one. That's
Stay
the round
tuned.
table. Stay tuned for that one. Stay tuned. Follow. Like I said, and if you want to know how you can stay tuned, well, follow them. Follow them on all socials. You can find them on YouTube. Show them some love. Guys. Put a comment on one of their videos. Let them know that I sent you guys. Let them know, hey, we found out from you guys. Let them know that
Yes.
they're being supported. If you guys love video games and if you guys love talking all things pop culture, video games, these are the guys you want to go to. So go over there, show them some love, send a comment, let them know that I sent you guys. Let them know that hey, we're supporting you guys because us nerds, we gotta stick together. You know what I'm saying?
That's
us video
right.
game people. We don't want to go outside. We want to stay inside and play some video games with homies. That's what we want to do.
That's right. We're always welcoming more people because we want to have more conversations with all your nudes out there. So keep it tight. And also,
Yeah.
if you're watching this right now and you haven't liked and subscribed to Gamesymaspod, do that
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
You want to see
dope.
some really
Yeah.
cool content? Do it. It's
Yeah.
free. Just have some fun. Come hang out. It's all
Yeah.
all we have to
I
ask for.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you guys so much for that. Yeah, please give us a follow. I love interacting with you guys and meeting the community and like, growing together, staying strong together, and having conversations together. But again, once again, Brian, Joel, thank you so much for coming on our humble podcast. You guys are
Thank
awesome.
you for having
guys,
us.
You guys you guys are celebs to me. You guys are celebrities in my eyes.
Oh.
You guys are awesome. You guys are
man.
I
pros.
don't know about that.
You the real one.
No. You guys. I love you guys. You guys are so much.
I'm gonna say real quick that this guy super impressed me because we did our Star Wars roundtable and he was dropping book lore, man. That shows me his love for Star Wars.
That's
I
a
love
fact.
Star Wars. I love it all. Even the episode 9, even the Acolyte. But he's like, I got the books right here. He's like, dude, he did his fucking homework. So if you want, make sure you're with the certified nerd, Gamesymaspod, Victor. They got it, man.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys so much. And with all that being said, I think we close it off. Thank you guys so much for watching y nos vemos para la próxima.